He goes, sir, could I just get a quick set in between you? And she's in normal clothes, and she's like 63 years old, and looked like she was almost 70. And he thought he was being punked, right? He gets up and she goes, could you put another 100 pounds on? Literally another 100 pounds on. And so there's a technique where you use an extreme amount of weight for a short period of time, and it stimulates it, because you don't get growth by working out. You get growth by rest, but you have to have a stimulus that's strong enough. And I started doing, I bench press in those days, like 240 pounds. So there are these little tools that can make you stronger, make you faster. And then there's simple things I never did. Like, I was working on the sleep chapter at 6:25 in the morning, and I had to be up in 2.5 hours. I'm like, what's wrong with this, with this picture? Because my whole thing was, my wife loves to sleep. 8 hours, 9 hours she'd be thrilled. Yeah. My thing is, I'll sleep when I die, right? Right. But then when I was doing the research for this book, I met this doctor who's a top neurobiologist over up in Northern California. He works for Google and everybody else. He's considered the top sleep doctor in the world. And he says, Tony, I think I can convince you. And I said, good luck. Give me your best shot. And he said, well, I did a study. We got a study with 1.6 billion people on sleep. And I go, you couldn't have possibly coordinated that. And he goes, I didn't have to. It's all the countries, 70 countries that have daylight savings times. Wow. And he said, here's what you got. His name's Dr. Anthony Bourdain, beautiful man, traveled the world, killed himself, fashion designers that have done it. There's probably 4 or 5 that are really happy people. You go, oh, well, money makes people unhappy. I think that most people are they haven't learned to manage what's going inside. Doesn't matter how much abundance they have, they're still unhappy. We've all seen people great comedians that have killed themselves. Anthony Bourdain, beautiful man, traveled the world, killed himself, fashion designers that have done it.
You're training yourself as your first skill of the day is,
yes,
I am okay with uncomfortable things.
Yes.
And I know I can get through them.
Yes.
And that to me is what sounds like a really important part of emotional fitness.
It is, because unless you can push through discomfort, most things that are going to give you the greatest reward require discomfort initially.
Yeah.
Right? And the discomfort, it's like, my original teacher, Jim Rohn, used to always say, there's 2 pains in life, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And more importantly, so does achievement, so does your ability to contribute to other people. Because I have 105 companies now, to give you an idea. And, there are all kinds of different industries, from AI to, my resorts in Fiji to sports teams I own. And I mean, it's insane, the dichotomy of them. We're doing $7 billion in business. So I got to do that while I'm being a good dad to 5 kids and 5 grandkids, while I'm taking care of my body, while I'm living my normal mission. And what makes you a great leader is your ability to solve problems or teach teams to build a culture where they can solve problems. And so it gives me this tremendous creativity and flexibility, but I've got the base of energy to make it work.
Yes, exactly. And you've given yourself your permission to say this matters first before we get lost in the 7 billion and 105 companies and all of that. Yeah. And I think that permission's often the toughest part.
Yeah.
But one of the things that stood out to me was I sat down, and this was a really beautiful answer that I want to share with you because I think it will spark where I want to go next. I interview a lot of Navy SEALs, and I like sitting down with people who've had extreme experiences because I feel that extreme experiences have opened up different parts of the brain, different parts of the body that we've never had.
And the spirit.
And the spirit too, exactly. And one of the people I sat down with was Jocko Willink.
Yes, I love him.
He's been a leader for 25 years and incredible Navy SEAL, highly accomplished. And I asked him, and we were on Zoom, right? This was during the pandemic, so I didn't even get to have this with him.
Yeah. It's like, there's grace in everything. I always think it's like, it's our job to realize that life's happening for us, not to us, and to find how it's happening for us. That's our job. If we do that, then we have a magical life. If we don't, but if your energy's low and you're exhausted, then you don't find those empowering meanings.
Yeah.
That's why, to me, you can't separate the mind and the body. You got to feed the mind and strengthen the body on a daily basis in some way. And if you do that, life can be pretty miraculous.
Yeah, and I did that for too long. I can actually relate to that. And it was my wife that turned me on to the body because I was one of those people that focused on the mind and the spirit.
Right.
And as I shared with you earlier, ignored the body.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, I'm young, I've always been healthy, I don't really know what physical health looks like.
Yeah. And with COVID, there's so much you can't control around you that people really sunk in that. Well, how's someone going to feel? Just everyone think about it. If you're constantly focused on what's missing from your life and what you can't control. And then I'll add one more. Do you focus more on the past, the present, or the future? We all do all 3, but we tend to have one we focus more on. Where do you think more people focus?
Past.
That's right. And achievers focus on the future, and happy people on the present. So that, if you're going to be an achiever, the ideal is the present, so you experience it, anticipating the future, so you can shape your life, right?
Yeah.
but the past you can't change. So I ask people in seminars, you got stadium 15, 20,000 people, and I'll say, how many of you know somebody that takes antidepressants and they're still depressed? And 80% of the room raised their hand saying they know somebody.
Wow.
Well, how come? Because all antidepressants do is numb you so that you're less intense, but they don't deal with the source of the problem, which is you're constantly seeing what's missing. That's why there are these people that have been wealthy and take their own life. They see what's missing. They focus on all the things they can't control. There's plenty we can't control, but there's plenty we can influence and plenty we can't control. And just a couple of changes like that completely change someone's life. And so those changes in the beliefs and values change what they look moment to moment, change their experience of life. They're no longer depressed.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I learned from that, apart from all the incredible stuff you said, is I didn't think about security once when we came down the slide. That's either because I trust you a lot, and I'm with you. If it was someone else telling me to get down the slide, I don't know if I would have done it. But now I'm like going, oh, wait a minute, we're underwater. Now I'm starting to have all the thoughts.
That's right.
That's incredible. Those questions are fascinating to me. And you were saying that the people that come to your seminars are people that are the opposite. And